Maniacs, welcome back to the channel. Your local bedhead here. We are going to be talking about today the Warren's grandson, who apparently has an actual issue with the purchase of the Annabelle doll and all the haunted artifacts. I guess they actually decided to go ahead and speak up about this, and I actually, it was interesting that he actually decides to say something and get some publicity because not too long ago I did a small reaction to one of his TikToks talking about Tony and what he thought personally of their tour going around America. He was not a fan of that either. He personally thinks that a lot of these artifacts are extremely dangerous, and he does not want people to be encountering them in person. Now, now that's obviously his opinion. If you had asked me, I would just straight up tell you that I do not believe these dolls and these artifacts are even haunted. I think you are perfectly safe going into that building no matter what, anyways. But that's just my thoughts. Coming from a different perspective, right? This guy, obviously, he grew up around the Warrens. He grew up looking at these items in a different light than a lot of us did. A lot of us didn't even know these items were a thing until the movies came out. So our perspectives on this are completely different. So I'll give him a little leeway, but he did post something, and I'm going to go ahead and read to you what he said and give you guys my thoughts. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and hear what he has to say about this. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what the grandson has said about the whole situation. He doesn't seem happy. That's all I can tell you right now. All right. Family of Annabelle doll owners do not agree with Matt Rife's purchase of the doll. The Warren Legacy Foundation. I don't have a problem with the buyers. Anybody could have bought it, but I'm worried about the public going in without understanding what they're exposed to. And I watched a video of his not long ago, and he does seem like a very grounded person. I can understand his point of view, but I don't necessarily agree because I don't believe anything in that museum is haunted. I think it's all just for show. I think it was always just for show. At least now I do. Back then I used to be a hardcore believer, but I've read a lot of things and I've seen a lot of things and I've watched a lot of things and I've seen people who've actually done their research and go into this and seen a lot of shady shit. So that's all I'll say for right now. I've kept quiet for as long as I could, maybe longer than I should have. Over the years, I've become increasingly estranged from my family due to deep differences in how we view and preserve the legacy of my grandparents, Ed and Lorraine Warren. At the heart of that distance is a sincere disagreement over how sacred this work truly is and how it should be handled with reverence, not publicity. Okay, you do realize that Ed and Lorraine Warren were all about publicity. Newspaper articles, news outlets, talk shows, being involved with a court case, the Amityville horror situation, Enfield, all of it being documented. They were all about, even recording investigations themselves, they were all about publicity, about getting out there as much as possible. That's not really my issue. I'm not really going to sit here and criticize. Now, my only issue with this whole thing is that supposedly this stuff is dangerous, and they've been taking it out and showing people all of this stuff for, I feel like, a couple of years now. People forget this stuff has been happening for like a couple of years. This is not like the first tour where they've taken Annabelle around. I'm very confident I have heard of this happening for a while now. So this is not like the first time it's happened. They've been taking the Warren stuff out of the museum for a while, and nothing's happened. People forget about that. They just look at when one bad thing happens, they just automatically start freaking out. And it's like, no, it's not. You're fine. Most recently, I voiced my concern about Annabelle being taken on tour. And now I'm watching the only real home I've ever owned, the only place in the world that felt unquestionably like home, be turned into a tourist attraction. That's an understandable point of view. I think Matt Rife, Elton might even understand that. Imagine, out of nowhere, you find out that your house was sold to a very famous comedian and a very, very big YouTuber, and they're turning it into a museum. A content house, if you will, in a sense, because they're opening it up to the public and investigators, and I'm sure a lot of YouTubers are going to go there. Yeah, I could see that probably bothering you. The place that you grew up, you hung out with your grandparents, and I'm sure he saw his grandparents in a completely different light than what we all see them as today. So it's understandable there's a lot of sentimental value at the location. And I guess I can understand that. I guess I can understand being a little upset. Let me be clear. I have nothing against Matt Rife. I didn't know who he was until a few days ago. I believe his intentions are good, and I don't hold him responsible for the decisions that led to this moment. I don't think, he would hold Elton or Matt responsible for what happened. If he's going to hold anybody responsible, it's going to be Tony. Tony's the one who was in charge of it, so I'm sure he's going to hold him responsible, if anything. And he's already shown in the past that he's not really a big fan of Tony. He's just straight up, he did not think it was a good idea that all these items were being taken on tour, and Tony, of course, was at the helm of this. He doesn't think Tony knows what the fuck he's doing, basically. Which is fine, too, because a lot of people pretty much don't either. All right. But for me, this is deeply personal. My grandparents weren't just paranormal investigators. They were my anchors. I remember riding my bike to their house as a kid. I remember my grandmother making me toasted tomato and cheese on rye. I remember holidays spent there, the quiet wisdom they shared, and the unshakable sense of duty they felt to protect people from what they couldn't always see or understand. I've lived in over 100 places around the world, but that house, that museum, was the one constant in my life. I wasn't consulted. I wasn't involved. And for years now, I have often been misunderstood, called things like narcissistic or attention-seeking, but that's never been who I am. I don't want to be famous. I want to help people. I want to honor the responsibility my grandparents entrusted to all of us, to protect the living, respect the dead, and never turn this sacred work into a spectacle. I'm surprised you are now just saying something if this was so personal to you. Okay, the Conjuring movies painted the Warrens out to be this heroic duo who never did any wrong, who were almost like the perfect couple. And they fought evil demonic beings to save families, to the point where they almost lost their lives. Never did, but that's what the movies painted them out to be, that they were this heroic duo who did. I mean, they might as well be a part of the Marvel movies from the way the Conjuring movies have painted them out. Nobody knew who really the Warrens were until those movies came out. At least the majority of like the general just overall audiences didn't know who the Warrens were until those movies came out, myself included. They made that their whole lives a spectacle. The books that Ed and Lorraine Warren had contributed to, the interviews, talk shows, all of this stuff, all a spectacle. That was their goal a lot of the time, was to make a spectacle of it, because in their own words, in their own defense, said that they wanted to educate people on the paranormal and the demonic. Even they, when they were alive, opened it up as a museum for people to take pictures and everything else. There's literally footage of Lorraine Warren saying, go ahead and take your picture. They themselves did very similar things. I'm not saying they let anybody stay the night there, but if it means that much to you, Elton and Matt have already agreed to have people sign waivers and take precautions when going in there. If, let's say, there was something actually in there. Personally, do I believe there is? No, I don't. I feel like you can go in there and blow smoke from a cigarette in Annabelle's face and nothing's going to happen to you. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. That's just an example. I do not believe it's haunted. And I don't recommend anybody doing that, by the way. Okay? Let's just be, that was a joke. Do not go in there and blow smoke in Annabelle's face. Don't do that. Don't do that. Not what I'm saying to do. But I'm just saying, I don't believe they're haunted. So you should probably have an issue with everything that's been going on. The Conjuring series have made a spectacle of your family's lives. Even their daughter. I don't know what comes next, but I know I couldn't stay silent. This legacy matters. It's not a brand. It's not content. It's not entertainment. It's been entertainment for a long time now. Since 2013, it's been entertainment, if not even before that. They were on television shows, too. People forget they were on paranormal television shows. There's been a spectacle about this for years. And I'm now surprised that you're saying something if it was such a big deal. So I don't understand that. This legacies matters. It's not a brand. It's not content. It's not entertainment. It's sacred. To those who've reached out, tagged me, or simply taken a moment to listen, thank you. I see you. And I'll keep standing for what I believe in, even if I have to do it alone. So that was it. I understand his personal point of view, where he's looking at this as his grandparents' house. I understand the sentimental value of that. I mean, my grandma is already up there in age, and I'm already thinking, like, when that house next door sells, she lives literally next door to me. When that house sells, I'm going to find it very weird, because I'm buying this house when someone else is on her front porch, when someone else lives there, and not my grandma. My grandma's lived there for 10 plus years. It is going to be a very different, if not more than that, probably like 20 plus years, actually. It's going to feel weird. So I'm going to understand the feeling of that. I certainly am. I will say, if you've had an issue with the entertainment side of this, the spectacle side of this, you probably should have spoken up a long, long time ago, because to me, this is nothing more than what's already been a reoccurring cycle with the Warrens at this point. This is nothing new. This is not a surprise. You're right. Someone would have bought it at some point. The best thing you can hope for, though, if you do believe in all of this stuff, is that they're going to take care of everything. They're not going to allow people to touch these items. They're not going to allow people to, play with these items as if they're dolls or toys. They're not going to let anybody disrespect anything. So that's the best you can probably do. And I'm sure if you actually maybe take the time to try to reach out to some of these people, I'm not sure if you have or not, and maybe have a discussion with them and maybe, say and tell them your concerns for the building, I'm sure they would listen. Elton seems like a pretty down-to-earth guy. I'm sure he would listen and understand what you're saying completely. So, I mean, that's for all I know. I'm not trying to put words in Elton's mouth, but I'm sure they would. Especially since you are related, they probably want to go ahead and maybe even attempt to get your blessing for the place. So I would have attempted to reach out for them instead of making a public post, right? I'm sure you could have gotten a hold of them. That's just me. I'm just guessing. I don't know if he has or not. But instead of making it public, it's kind of ironic you said you don't want to be famous or anything like that. You might have just tried to get a hold of them. Say, hey, I know you guys bought the place. These were my grandparents. Your guys are turning the house into a museum. I just want to try to get an understanding of what your intentions and plans are, and maybe even drive out there to visit them and talk to them about it personally, instead of kind of making a spectacle of it by posting it all over social media. If this is a personal problem for you, I would have definitely gotten a hold of them personally. Out of curiosity, what do you guys think? Do you think it's understandable how he feels that this is his grandparents' place, so they're turning it into a spectacle, they're turning it into a museum without his consent, and that's why he's bothered? Do you agree with that perspective? What are your opinions? Comment down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I will continue to cover this topic for as long as things come out about it. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you all in the next one. Do take care.